Okay, so we're going to begin today sitting or in child's pose, whichever one you want. And note that we're going to be moving a lot and we're going to be moving quickly, and it will probably be a bit of a workout if you'd like. But then we've got the other half of class to really practice yoga. Now, you can go ahead and close your eyes and sit tall or really rest in your child's pose, whatever you prefer. Have a couple of breaths. So, the turning of yoga into a workout is controversial for sure. My definition of yoga and what the practice does for me is so expansive. I've been doing this for a while. I do think very strongly that you can put a state of mind or a meditative state, if you will, into whatever you do. And it might be useful. Take a couple more breaths to practice this kind of unwavering attention to the body and attention to the breath. No matter what we're doing. And if it ever doesn't seem to be helping, remember we have as much of this quote hardcore practice we're doing in the beginning, we have the same amount of no work at all, fully meditative, Zen, if you will, yoga that's coming right after it. Roll your shoulders a couple of times. If you're sitting up, if you're in child's pose or you're lying down on your back, you just start moving your legs or your torso in a way that feels really good. You might begin Ujjayi breath if it's something you practice. And we will all move into a twist. Now, if you're sitting, just bring one set of fingertips behind you, the other hand to your leg. If you're in child's pose, you might walk your torso over, place one forearm on the floor, and lift the other arm up. If you're lying down your back, you can twist with dropping your knees to one side. But just take a couple of breaths here. So I know I said that we're going to work early and then we're going to have the whole other half of the class to not work at all. But at this moment, I just want you to hold the twist and breathe easy and see how your back, your neck, and shoulders feel. And let's go ahead and twist to the other side. Good. Take your time. Begin to pay closer attention, perhaps, to what you're thinking, where your mind goes. Excuse me. And come on back to center. And let's do some cat-cows on hands and knees. Like I said before, even though we're really front-loading the practice today, we're still going to warm our way into it. We're not just going to jump into anything crazy. So spread out the fingers. Put some space between the knees. When you're ready, lift the sit bones, lift the sternum, and lift the nose. Perhaps that's on the inhale. Exhale, tuck the tailbone a bit, but then really push your back up towards the ceiling, drop your head. Sit bones lift up, sternum lifts up, nose lifts up, and tuck under. Keep going. So again, lots of emphasis on some physical aspects of the practice as we start. And then a lot of relaxing and releasing and letting go later on. So maybe now you let your breath kind of regulate. If you really enjoy a practice where the inhales and the exhales match each other, where you move with the breath, just keep it up. But see if you can start really going into your cat-cows one breath at a time. And really start at this point pressing into the floor with your hands and even with your shins, whether or not you have your toes tucked. And then when you're ready to, bring your back to neutral. So again, this might seem everyone a little bit kind of more vinyasa style, I put in quotes, because we're going to be moving a little faster, but take your time. You can always hold something instead of moving. Reach your left leg back, please, and your right arm forward. and breathe. Inhale with a slight tuck in the tailbone. Lift your arm, lift your leg a little bit more. And then when you exhale, take your knee and your elbow to meet underneath you and round your back. Flex your spine like cat pose. Inhale, reach your arm and leg away from each other. Lift them as high as you want. And then exhale, bring them close underneath you. Inhale, reach. And exhale, close underneath. Take your time. And when you're ready, one more time, reach the arm back, or forward, the leg back. Lower your hand, lower your knee. Lift your right leg, your left arm. So again, find a slight tuck in the tailbone, but then really lift your leg, really lift your arm. You can point your foot or not, whatever you prefer. Good, breathe in. And then when you breathe out with your eyes pretty focused, take your elbow and your knee towards each other underneath you and flex your back. Even your neck, so drop your head. Inhale, reach. And exhale. Bring your arm and leg close. Maybe they touch and press into each other, and you can see how that activates your center differently. I find I have a tendency to lean into the back leg a whole bunch. I find a lot of people do. Maybe try leaning a little farther forward into your right hand for the last couple. And one more time, the arm and leg reach away. And then the knee comes down, the hand comes down. Walk your hands forward a little bit more. Inhale, lift your sit bones, lift your sternum, lift your face like cow pose. So we're hyperextending the back a little bit, but then lean into your hands. See how it feels. When you're ready to breathe in, push your hands into the floor, and breathe out, lean into your back, your heels a little bit. Inhale, and then exhale, tuck the tailbone under, round your back, drop your head. And then from this cat pose, lean into your hands. Push the floor away. Keep breathing, tuck your tailbone. And then lean back, relax a little. Inhale, lift your sit bones, your sternum, and your nose. Good. Lean into your hands, push the floor away. Lift your sit bones a little, lift your sternum, lift your face, push the floor away, breathe. And then lean back, back off. Make sure your toes are tucked. Tuck the tailbone, round your back like cat pose, lean into your hands again. And then this time with the toes tucked, keep rounding the back, keep pushing the hands into the floor. Inhale, lift your knees. Exhale, let them tap the ground. Inhale, lift them. Exhale, they tap. Inhale, lift. Tap, keep going, round your back. Lift your heels really high, push the floor away with everything touching. And of course, your knees don't actually have to touch the floor, just get them close to it. Keep going, lifting your knees, lifting your heels when you lift your legs, and then letting your knees lower some. Maybe even clench your glutes when you lift your knees, and then again, lower a little. One or two more. And then downward dog. From downward dog, shift your weight into plank pose. Look forward. Lower your heels to one side, and then lift them up. Lower them to the other side, and then lift them up. Lower them to one side. Notice your breathing. Notice what you feel. Lift your heels. Drop them to the other side. Lift them up. Breathe in. Lower the knees. Push the floor away. Lower your chest to the floor. Give your arms a break. Reach the arms back in space and lower your fingertips and your palms to the floor. Inhale, point your feet, lift your legs. Exhale, bring the tops of the feet down. Inhale, shoulder blades down the back, lift your chest. And exhale, lower it down. Inhale, lift legs. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, lower. Keep going. Good. Nice job, everybody. Remember, we're actually playing with effort. One of the big emphases in meditation and in yoga, but definitely in meditation, is that it doesn't always have to feel good and it doesn't always have to be easy. If we want it to be useful and to prepare us for the real world, which isn't always good or easy, we kind of learn to play with being our best self, even when things are hard. That's what you're doing now. Keep going. Now you can keep alternating legs, chest, maybe lift both, lower both. Maybe lift your arms, lower everything. Keep going. Try to keep breathing in and out through the nose only. Occasional exhales out of the mouth are fine. When you're ready, relax everything down. Press yourself up to hands and knees or plank pose, and then back in a downward dog. From downward dog, lift the right leg up in the air, and then exhale, take the right knee in towards the chest. Lift through that left heel, breathe in, and then exhale, bring your shoulders over your wrists, bring your weight forward. Down dog split, lift that right leg up, then stay in down dog, but bring your knee in towards your chest. Then lift your left heel, shift your weight forward into your hands, down dog split. And if you want, you can bend your knee, open up the hip every time you go back. But eventually take your knee in, shift your weight forward into your hands, down dog split. Knee into the belly, shift your weight into your hands, down dog split. Next time you bring your knee into your belly and shift your weight into your hands, step your foot up to the front of the mat, and you can pick it up and put it there if you want to. You might bring your feet a little bit closer to each other. Let's push into the floor with the toes and then add some bend in the knees. And again, one of the things we're doing is noticing, how do we treat ourselves under pressure? How do we treat ourselves when things aren't easy? How are you breathing? Lift your torso, lift your arms. Straighten your legs some, bend them. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. A few more. Push the floor away. Feel as though you were engaging all the muscles of your legs. Imagine you were wearing or putting on a really tight wetsuit. Now all your muscles were the wetsuit and they were squeezing in and up. I've never put a wetsuit on, by the way. I just think that makes sense. But just squeeze in and up. And let's put the hands to the floor. Downward dog. Take your time. Notice your breath. You might feel your heartbeat. Notice that even if things are difficult, you're still safe. Lift your left leg up. You can lift your right heel if you feel pretty tight in that leg, that's fine. But take your left knee in towards your belly, and then bring your weight forward into your hands. See how it feels? Down dog split. Knee to the belly, shoulders over the wrist, deliberately shifting forward. Down dog split. Keep going. So knee comes in, weight shifts forward, down dog split. One or two more. And the next time your knee shifts forward, get your foot near the front of the mat. It doesn't have to be super far, especially because we're going to be bending the knees a bunch. You might have your stance a little shorter. Lift your torso and your arms. You can always put your hands to your hips, if you want to. You can always be still if you need to. But if you're into it, straighten your legs, bend them. Keep going. Remember, even though we're intending to put the body in this good stress state, that is exercise, that is voluntary exercise, we don't have to go to any crazy ranges of motion. You still want to feel like you're not in control so much as able to manage the movements. So you might focus your eyes, you might keep going back to your breath. You don't have to go insanely deep every time. Couple more. When the hands come down, step back into plank pose or hands and knees, but either way, separate your feet a bit. Bring your hands a little closer to each other. Breathe in, and then breathe out. Reach your right arm forward, but then put it down. Exhale, left arm forward. Inhale it down. Right arm, left arm. You can lift on the inhale or the exhale. Lift your knees, though. And maybe as you lift one arm, you lift the opposite foot. Just see what happens. Remember, just because you're thinking something doesn't mean you have to change anything or do anything. Lower the knees and walk your hands in so you're standing on your knees. Tuck the tailbone. Have a couple breaths. And certainly wait, if you're breathing out of the mouth, like I am because I'm talking a bit too, wait until you can breathe exclusively in and out through the nose. Soften your eyes, your forehead, and then tuck your tailbone again. Take more time if you need more time to play with your breath, but if you're ready, toes tucked or not, whatever feels better for you, take all of your weight back towards your heels and then forward. Tuck your tailbone. Take everything back and squeeze and then forward. Back and squeeze and then forward. Reach your arms forward. Go back and bring your right fingertips towards the floor and then forward. And then left hand and then forward. Right, forward, left, forward. Now this time, reach your right arm towards the wall behind you. Look to your thumb. Go back and forward. Left side, reach your left arm back. Look at your thumb and forward. Right, left, right. Almost done. Remember, we have half of our practice, which is coming up soon, focusing very much on relaxing in many ways. Next time you reach your left arm forward, place your hands to the floor. Either with your knees down or up, you're going to drop your hip to one side. So maybe you leave your knees down, if that suits, and you lower your right hip to the right, up, and to the left. Maybe your knees are up, and you lower your right hip as you drop your heels to the right, and then up, and then to the left as you drop your heels to the left, and keep going. Remember, even if something is a challenge, we use meditation and yoga to practice dealing with that in the most intelligent way, which means not ignoring it or suppressing it, but paying attention, noticing the body's reactions, but not having to follow through with something just because a thought came up. And travel your way up to the front of your mat. Fold forward. When you're ready, bend your knees a little bit. Let your arms hang. Lean into your right foot. You're going to stand on your right foot, but before you do that, lift your left foot up. And then round your way up to stand. Take your left knee with you. When you're almost all the way up to stand, reach your arms up and step the foot back into a lunge. From here, open the arms out to a T. Turn your ribcage a little bit to the right, and maybe look to your right thumb. Come forward, turn your ribcage a little to the left, push your feet into the floor, and maybe look to your left thumb. One more time each side, forward, right, forward, left. Lift your arms up as you face forward. Bend your back knee a little bit. How little the bit is up to you. Whatever feels better on your back. But lift your chest, lift your arms, lean back, and reach through your fingers like the effort was making your fingers longer. And then release your fingertips to the floor. Step your left foot forward and fold. Inhale, lift your back up some. Exhale, fold, relax. Bend your knees. Lean into your left foot. Let your right foot hover off the floor. Let your arms hang. And then slowly, like you're rolling up to stand, but on just your left foot. Right knee's coming along for the ride. Eventually stand up. Lift your arms up. Notice your breath. And step the right foot back. Again, not super far today. Open the arms about out to a T. And when you're ready to, turn your rib cage, lift it up, turn it a little bit to the left, reach to the left, and then back, look to your left thumb if that feels good. And forward, and to the right, and forward. One more time to the left, forward, to the right, forward, and then bring your arms up. As much of a bend as you want in your back knee, but squeeze your back hip, squeeze the glutes of your right leg, lift your chest and lean back a little. Reach through your fingertips. Feel how strong your back is. And then as if your back itself could lift you up, go ahead and sit up. Put your fingertips to the floor. Step forward and fold. Inhale, lift your back up some. Exhale, step back into plank pose. Breathe in, lower down to your belly. Breathe out. Inhale, lift your back up some. Whatever back bend you want. Lower down, tuck the toes, knees up or down. Press up into plank pose. Walk your feet a little bit closer to your hands. Inhale, lift your right leg up, and exhale, take the right knee to the right shoulder. And just hold it there. Breathe. If you want, you can get your leg to snug up on your shoulder. Maybe bend your elbows a little. Breathe. Downward dog. Plank pose. A little short plank. Take your left foot up and take your left knee to your left shoulder. If you want, you can play with bending your elbows a little bit. Breathe. Downward dog. Bring your feet close to each other. Minutes, everyone. A couple of minutes left until we shift towards deep relaxation. But for now, plank pose. Feet are close. Tap your left shoulder with your right hand and then bring it down. And then left shoulder or other shoulder and keep going. Try, even if you have to separate your feet a little more, not to let your hips waver to the left or right too much. And the next time your left hand comes down, lower your knees and sit back up on your knees. When you're ready, hands to hips, tuck the tailbone, good. Take your weight back into your heels, just like we did before, but we're gonna hold it. Tuck the tailbone, lift your sternum, and breathe. Tuck the tailbone, lift your sternum, and breathe. Like every breath was making your spine longer. 3 more breaths. Sit up. Bring your hands or your fists to your lower back and allow your hips to shift forward some. Lift your sternum And then add a bit of a back bend to this. So with the hands to the glutes or to the lower back, you can let the hands do some of the work. And sit up. And let's come onto the back. Feet to the floor, arms by your sides. Lift your hips up, bridge pose. Lift your hips really high as feels good after what you've just done. And then bring them down. Bring your knees in, give them a hug. And then lift your upper back off the floor. And then reach your legs forward, maybe at an angle that's not so big. Maybe reach them pretty far forward. Lower back's down. Round your back a bit like cat pose. Lower your feet an inch. Lift them an inch. Lower an inch. Lift an inch. 1 foot at a time is fine too. Perhaps this is really hard. Rock, forward and back. Everyone come up to sit. Cross your ankles. Inhale, reach the arms up. Bring the right fingertips to the floor behind you. Left hand to the right leg. Push your fingertips into the floor. Feel as though your hips could anchor down. And rotate your chest to the right. Look to the right. Come on back to center. Reach your arms up. Really reach. And twist to the left. Pushing your hand into your leg into your hand, your fingertips into the floor. Come on back to center. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, twist to the right. Grab on closer to the knee in a way that feels painless. Lift your right knee up. Lift both knees up if you want. Right fingertips to the floor. Inhale. Exhale, lower your knees. Inhale, lift them. Lower. Lift. Lower. Lift. Come on back to center. Lift your arms. Left fingertips behind you. Right hand comes near the left knee in a way that feels good. And when you're ready to twist, lower your knees. Lift them. Lower. Lift. Notice where you're at mentally. Back to center. Lift your arms up almost lazily. Make some circles with your wrists. Let your legs just fall down however they naturally do. Twist over to the right. Maybe close your eyes. And let the inhales be kind of deep. I know we don't often do that, especially in the middle of an asana practice, but today's a little different. Feel as though when you inhale, your rib cage could expand out to the sides, especially the lower portions of the ribs. And when you exhale, just relax a bit. Ease up on the breath. Let's come on back to center, reach the arms up. Whatever you want to do with your hands, maybe interlace your fingers and flip your palms. Twist to the left. At first, a couple of deeper breaths, imagining the sides of the rib cage, especially the lower ribs, could expand quite a bit when you inhale. And everything relaxes some when you exhale. Go ahead and come forward and onto hands and knees. And from here, let's make some circles with the torso. Forward, to the side and back. As much space as you want between your knees. Notice your breath. You can close your eyes if you feel like it. Start making your circles in the other direction. And we're going to keep the hips kind of high up in the air, like cat-cows, but then walk the arms forward a bunch. And when you're ready, breathe in nice and fully, but sweetly, easily. And when you breathe out, allow your elbows and your chest to just drop towards the floor. You can have your forehead down. You can let your head hang. You can have your chin down, whatever you prefer. Easy, easy breaths. And with the least amount of effort as possible, absolute least amount, shift forward so you can lie down on your belly. And then place your hands in front of you like Sphinx pose. But you're going to let yourself almost kind of collapse down towards the floor. So your shoulders almost hug your neck. And then you can keep your shoulders lifted, but lift your elbows a little bit. Maybe even drop your head back some. We're not going to be here for long. And come on down. Let's reach the right arm out to the right, resting the right shoulder on the floor, and then rolling onto the right side, and maybe just stay there. If you'd like, you can lift your left knee up. You can take your left hand behind you. We're just putting a gentle bit of weight on the right shoulder, nothing too intense. Noticing your breath, let the breath get really easy. And scan the field, so notice where your attention goes. Decentering a bit. So you allow all the thoughts to come up. You have zero control over them all of the time. But you allow all of them to come up and just watch them. Not being at the center of them, just watch them. Breath even easier, even slower exhales. Put your left hand back down, rolling off of your right arm, coming up onto your elbows. When you're ready, you might need some extra time. And just letting your legs really drop here. You might even let your heels turn away from each other. And lift your chest a little bit. If you want, you can lift your elbows some. Feeling the breath in the belly. If you feel you're holding any tension in the body, really deliberately release it some, even if that means you have to do a less kind of extreme version of the pose. So the elbows can stay down for sure. Just find more release in the body, more ease, more breath. Let's come onto the belly. Just make a pillow with your hands. And see if you can rest here without waiting for anything. If a craving of any sort comes up, just observe it. Don't push it away, just observe it. Notice if there's a story, a belief attached to it. Without identifying with it, right? You're watching patterns. You don't have to do anything. Now let's take the left arm out to the left. So you're going to be putting a gentle bit of weight on your left shoulder. You can have your left palm facing the floor or the ceiling, whatever one you want. Roll onto your left hip. So the left side of the face faces the floor. If it suits your body type and your mood, maybe lift your right knee up. So the weight of the right leg will drop your body over towards your left hand a little more, adding a little bit more stretch. Maybe the right hand comes behind you. But I would definitely advise looking for a small amount of sensation here. And just letting your body, letting your systems kind of tolerate that little bit. Notice if your breath seems a little stuck or stagnant in any way, and just slow it down, let it get easier. You might want to put the right hand back to the floor to help you come back to center. And this time, however feels easy for you, as easy as possible. Let's come on to hands and knees. Now we're going to take the left arm, bring it behind the right arm, and lower the left shoulder back to the floor. You can reach your right arm up if you want to, or just place the hand to your hip. We're not holding this for as long. Just lift your chest up. Maybe feel like your right hip could shift back a little bit. And then press your right hand into the floor. We're just going to switch sides, so you can do that on your own. Not holding it for long. Right forearm down. Left hand wherever you want. Maybe the left hip inches back a little. And back up to hands and knees. When you're ready, let's reach the left leg back first. We're going to go into pigeon. So if you wanted, you can come onto your back and put your left ankle on your right thigh. Otherwise, shift your left knee to your left wrist, shimmy the foot over to the right some. And again, I'd recommend finding a little bit of stretch and sensation here. It really doesn't have to be extravagant at all. Your body might thank you for it later if it isn't. And just bring your forearms forward. If you'd like, again, on your back, you can place your left ankle to your right leg and just hold on to your right leg. Hang out here instead. You could rest your right foot up against a wall. So as we know with exercise and even with relaxation, even with a stretch like this, if we do it often enough, the body finds out, it like gets the message that this is something that I do now. So it finds ways to get better at it, to make it more efficient. So the more often you do this, for the most part, like the more efficient it is, the easier it is to tolerate. Have a similar kind of curiosity about what you think. Like these patterns that are coming up. And again, you are not your thoughts. I am not my thoughts. But if you keep catering to those certain stories, they're just going to get easier and easier to show up. So notice what comes up. Again, you don't have to push anything away. You don't have to do anything about it. But perhaps there's a word. Perhaps you dismiss. Remember, you're being real picky about what you make important. It takes a lot of letting go. A lot. Notice again if you're waiting for something or craving something different. Just experiment with not extinguishing, right? But just feeling that feeling of craving while you locate safety in your body, safety in your mind. So even though it's happening, nothing's wrong. You just notice it. And go back to your breath. So we're going to walk the hands in, roll on to the left side, and swing the right leg around. And if, because you maybe feel your body cooling down a bit, if you want to put sleeves or socks back on at any point, feel free, because you won't need your bare feet for anything else we're doing. But we're going to have the heels pretty close. And before we fold forward, maybe place your hands behind you. We're just going to lift and lower the knees a couple times. You don't have to push them real intensely towards the floor. Just lift and lower them a little. And maybe you decide you want to move your feet a little further away. Maybe you decide you want to sit up on something. But eventually, take the weight of your torso with your sit bones a little tiny bit lifted. So instead of rounding the back, you're trying to lengthen through the belly. And then lean a little into your legs. Maybe close your eyes, notice your breath. See if you can put as much of your attention, as close to 100% of your attention as possible, on the exhales. You can even drag them out. Make them as slow as you can. Let's go into pigeon on the other side. Or again, you can come down your back. And this, if you do this time, it's the right ankle that goes to the left leg. If you want to do pigeon, come on to hands and knees. And if you want to sneak in a down dog or two, that's always okay. Sometimes it feels good, even though we're intending to be quite relaxed. So the right knee to the right wrist. Shin to the left somewhere. Maybe the left leg shimmies back some. Again, especially if you have a lot of mobility and space in your hips, it can be really interesting and a little challenging too to not go as deep as possible, but to fold until you feel a little bit of sensation and then explore that. There's a lot to be discovered in between the extremes. And go to the breath. You'll, again, keep noticing what comes up. Time might feel a little bit stretched out now. You might remember or think of things you haven't thought of in a long time. It's totally fine. Again, practice decentering. So you're watching everything that happens and just keep going to the breath. We're going to walk the hands in and make our way from here onto hands and knees. Now, you have the option of going into a seated straddle if you want to. So you can sit down and separate your legs and maybe hinge forward from here, maybe just stay standing up. Or, and you can decide later, from hands and knees, you separate your knees quite a bit, trying to walk your knees and your feet pretty far away from each other, and then maybe put your elbows to the floor and shift your hips forward some. So it's a pretty intense stretch, not everyone's favorite on the knees. So we'll be here for probably like 5 or 6 more breaths. We're not going to hold it for too long. Don't do anything painful. A little uncomfortable is okay. Again, it could be really interesting to exaggerate the slowness of the exhales. Really let the ends trail off. So you have to wait a little into your arms if you're in this frog pose. If you're in your straddle, And just feel your feet stretch away from each other a little bit, nice and easy. And let's come back up however you want to. I haven't found out how to do this in a way that's not awkward. But make your way up to sit, and then you'll right away lie down on your back. Again, a good time to cover up if you haven't and you want to. You're going to stretch your left leg out on the floor, but then you'll roll onto your left hip and take your right knee out to the left. So we're into a twist. Another one. You might shimmy your rib cage over to the left some, stretch your right arm out. And after you've found the shape, let your body just drop into it. You don't have to hold anything anywhere. Now let's go into the other side. Take your time coming back to center. And the right leg will be long. You can roll onto your right hip. And then tuck your left knee in. But then maybe shift the back of your ribcage over to the right some. Stretch your left arm out. Turn your face to the left. And again, let your body release after you've found the shape and just notice your breath. Really let go of the muscles. Let's come back to center again. Bringing the knees in and then reaching in between the knees for your ankles, maybe your feet for happy baby. Real languid, easy movements, or no movements at all, whatever you want. And then reach your legs out, bring your arms by your sides for Shavasana. Taking a deep breath when you get there. And you can exhale with a sigh, but then close your mouth at the end of the exhale. Let the last little bit of air go. And note again, your mind is supposed to seek. It is meant to be seeking all the time. And you are practicing and successfully getting better and better at letting go. At being very picky about what you make important. And I invite and encourage you to stay here as long as you want to. But because of the way our practice was set up today, if you would like to shift out of Shavasana, it might be especially appropriate to do so slowly and easefully. Little bits of stretching and yawning along the way. And maybe you end up sitting up. And having this short bit of time to kind of leave the stuff off. And just notice what comes up, just stepping back again, that sense of decentering. None of those thoughts are you or belong to you. And just feel the body. And if you want to fold forward, bring the hands behind you or put them wherever. Have a breath in and fold. And thank you very, very much, everybody.